This is The Culture.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast. We are back. Liz and I, we're talking The Golden Bachelor. We're down to 3 ladies. We're talking hometowns. Oh, yeah.
Let's go hometown.
I'm one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined by Liz Seiko.
Hello, I'm ready for this. Let's do it.
All right, so this is my first hometowns experience.
How was it overall?
It was interesting. I like the different dynamic that it provides. There are some very cringe-inducing, like the Gerry runs were just something that I couldn't get behind.
I felt like Gerry was super cringy this episode, actually.
I agree with
right?
you. Like, not that I disliked him.
No.
But I was like, he's usually a little cringe, but this episode I was like, dude, you're like leaning into this a little too much.
Or like seemed slightly insincere in moments too. And I was like,
oh, I can't wait to dive into that.
I was like, wait a minute, Gerry, what are we doing?
What are we doing,
doing right now?
All right, so we're down to 3 ladies.
Yes.
We discussed last week how we were both heartbroken with the fact that Ellen was gone.
Yes.
Didn't make any sense to either one of us.
Nope.
But the 3 ladies we are down to are Faith, Leslie, and Theresa. And we start off in our home state, New Jersey.
Shout
in
out.
Shrewsbury. Shout out.
Let's go, Jersey.
With Theresa. So she's based in Shrewsbury. And
yeah.
Go ahead.
And so like they go right into it too. There's
Yes.
like no time wasted. And the people that Gary's going to meet at Theresa's home are her grandkids, her daughter, and her sisters who are there. Right away, it's just like a very like good vibes, like not a lot of problems. The daughter right off the bat is saying like they look smitten with each other. They look like they're very connected, very interested. Her grandkids, I don't know why, but I just found it so funny that because at one point Gary's talking like just the grandkids and the kids are like, yeah, you know, like grandma comes over a lot because she's lonely. And I was like, oh my God.
It's like, oh my God, it's awful.
I was like, wow. I was like, I mean, if you really want to know the tea on somebody, like go talk to some kids under 10 years old and they'll just like rip her apart.
That's true. Well, they speak honestly.
Yeah, they do.
Obviously.
Well, and then I wrote another thing that they were like, yeah, when we do selfies with grandma, she does this weird face. It's like duck lips.
Okay, wait. That was so go back to cringy.
Okay.
I hated that.
Okay.
From the kids, I thought it was fine.
And then when Gerry
did it, I was like, oh my God, what am I watching right now?
You're like,
and
why?
They're like, we've talked about this so much throughout the season because there are really sweet moments with these people. There are some cringe-inducing things.
Yeah.
But yes, I do agree that there's something about maybe it was a pressure thing because obviously he's trying to impress people and he's amping up his personality because I feel like not with every human, but with a lot of people normally, you want to impress people on first impressions. You want to entertain people if you're that type of person. If you're not like a normally shy person, you're trying to put yourself out there the best that you can.
Yeah.
I mean, how is a 72-year-old going to relate to 10-year-olds?
Oh, true.
So he's just doing duck faces with them.
Maybe. I know. It felt like a little, I mean, I thought that part was funny. The part that I cringed was more of when he started talking to some of the actual like older relatives. Specifically.
For Theresa's family?
Yes.
Okay.
So specifically, he then, after talking with the grandkids, goes on to talk with Theresa's daughter, who I feel like was very honest and open. And she's like, I'm just going to ask you a question and start it off like, what do you like about my mom? Which, as any kid, like bold question and way to just jump right in and not kind of beat around the bush. His answer, oh my God. He goes, I like how she looks at me.
What she says about somebody else later on.
Yeah. And it's like, that's what you like about, like, you could have said anything. You could have been like, she's beautiful. She's an incredible personality. No, you say, I like how she looks at me. And I was just kind of like, Gerry, what are you doing
I think it's
now?
very obvious.
That he's not interested in her?
Yeah, it solidifies and pisses me off even more that she's in the bottom 3 and Ellen's not.
Yeah.
Because it feels like the gap is so large. And we'll get into it, what happens at the end of the episode, which makes me like resent this episode a lot at the end.
Okay.
Like not as a whole, but just I was like, this is like the most, to me it was the most amped up for TV thing, but maybe it's not. But then I'm not understanding him as the Bachelor then, because
What do you mean?
So it's very obvious that he has a really sincere connection with Leslie. And we talked a little bit off camera. You actually got sold a little bit higher on Faith after this episode.
Yeah,
and
this episode made me believe in some faith.
I love that for you. But that's the difference. And the other thing is all three, we'll break them down individually, but all three hometowns, he is questioned by someone in the family whether or not he loves the other person.
That usually happens just to let you know.
Okay, totally fair. But he is honest, does not say he loves Theresa, but says he loves the other two. So to me, it just feels like she is the odd one out. Like she doesn't belong in this final three.
I agree, because I also think just a lot of the conversations in Theresa's hometown visit was just slightly negative, and not in like a blatant way, but just in some of the things that they would bring up. Like, for example, the daughter also said she kind of brought up the challenges of like living in different places, and like, how are you going to do that? Like, have you talked about that yet? And I feel like that was kind of like a negative aspect. While when he talked about it with other people in other hometowns, it was like they were willing to work it out. But at Theresa,
isn't she the one? Teresa's daughter is the one that's like, like she's here a lot.
Yeah,
like she's here with our family a lot, and that might have to be something that you think about, sort of going forward.
Well, and then it was just kept getting like cringier and cringier. I feel like that conversation, and like you really started to see that Gerry maybe isn't interested in Theresa as much as the show was giving off, because then she asked if he was falling in love with her mom, and he was like, "Oh, what a hard question."
Yep.
What a hard question to answer. And
let's whip out the Gerry impressions, Liz. Let's do it.
Oh, what a hard question. And I don't know.
I think that's an astute question to ask.
I don't know.
But that's a tough one. We're going to have to see. Gerry is a fucker. No, we love you, Gerry. We love you, Gerry.
We love Gerry.
We love you,
so
Gerry.
Nice.
But yeah, no, to me, that was an obvious sign
that he's not.
He wasn't into her. Now, we start off with her, and then we start to go into the other families. Now, before we do that, though, we do have that moment too. After he meets the families, they go to like Seaside Heights, right?
Oh my God. Okay. I was like, they go to Seaside Heights of all places. Like what? They're like, New Jersey. What's the most basic place to go visit? Seaside Heights. And I was like, what? Also, Shrewsbury and Seaside Heights, that's like 45 minutes away from each other. Like, why are we going there?
Maybe they tried Point and they couldn't. Maybe. It was closed.
Or maybe Gerry was like, I want a Ferris wheel.
Maybe Gary's like, I'm a big Jersey Shore fan.
Oh my God.
That'd be great. But so they go up in they're in a not Ferris wheel, are they?
I think they went on a Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
And she talks about how she is really in love with him. And he goes, that really makes me feel special. That's his response.
Are you kidding?
To her saying,
Gerry, are you joking, man? Like, that's not what you say when somebody says, not that they're falling in love with you, that they are in love with you. Wow. That makes me feel so special.
That makes me feel special.
Wow. Like, Jesus, dude, read the room. This poor woman has gone on television and introduced you to her whole family.
I couldn't imagine being in her position and hearing that. I would be
that
like,
makes me
get
feel special.
Me the fuck off this Ferris
I would have
wheel.
been like, are you going to make me feel special now? Like, say it back. What do you mean?
And that's the second time in 2 weeks she said it.
Yes.
To him.
Cringy.
And he hasn't said it back.
I mean, you got to read the room a little bit. Like, although, okay, but wait, because then in his interview, I'm sorry, I'm reading my notes I haven't watched the episode in like a couple of days, so I'm reading my notes as I go. Then in the interview, he says that he's in love with her.
I honestly probably missed
in
that.
Like one of his like one-on-one interviews. He's like, I think I am falling in love with Theresa. And I was like, this gives me fake vibes.
Yeah,
it just makes it seem like he was he felt bad because he didn't say it back to her. And he was like, I don't know, maybe I am falling in love with her.
Yeah, I don't think there was any vibe I got from this episode that he was falling in love with her.
No, it didn't feel.
And when you get those answers, I gotta give him kudos. Like, I'm curious. So you've watched other, I know you're not a big Bachelor person, but you said it usually goes this way where they'll ask if they're in love. Does that like, do they answer honestly often, or are they like, I really love your daughter, I really love your son so much, like every fucking time we're down to like 3 or 4?
I will say hometowns makes it obvious when they're not vibing.
Okay.
Because the families come in with these hard asking questions. And I mean, if you're interested in somebody at least a little bit, you can kind of be like, yes, I am. And like, I do want to see more. But if you are just kind of like stringing them along and you have like these genuine people asking you these questions, it comes off fake. So then the audience can tell like, ooh, they want out. Yeah, there's been some, like, I also feel like it's different stakes. When it's 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and they're a little bit younger, the families are coming in a little bit more aggressive.
Because it's like, this is who they might spend the rest of their life. Which, yes, this is obviously what we hope for Gerry as well, but this is morbid. But he doesn't have as many years ahead of him as maybe some of these 20-year-olds do.
No, I was going to say that it's more of like the families.
Not okay.
I was going to say that it's more of like the families are rooting for it as like, yes, we just want our person to find somebody to spend the rest of their life with. In this world of like, we just want them to be happy and like not be lonely.
Yeah.
Versus when it's 20s, it's like, who are you actually?
Are you going to provide? Are you going to be like, this for this
like,
person?
Are you going to be a good person? Do you match their, like my sister's vibe or my daughter's vibe or my son's vibe? And like, who are you off camera? Like, are you like a player? Like, are you just playing along with their feelings? And then I think it also gets a little bit more aggressive of, well, you're dating other people right now. What makes
you see a little bit of that in this.
You do later on. Which, I mean, it is a big thing of like, how do you know if you're in love with somebody if you're dating 3 people at once?
Yeah.
Like, what, you just like the attention? Yeah, of course. But like, so it gets a little bit more muddy and a little bit more toes step on. I feel like this was still a very much like, oh, we love Gerry. Maybe Gary's just like a really great guy.
I think he is. I just think like I said, if this was Ellen, I feel like there would be so much of a higher stake with the final 3
flying and they'd be falling in love.
Oh, well, they fucking were falling in love. I don't know what happened.
I don't either.
God damn it, Gerry, you picked the wrong one. But I don't even know who you picked yet. But
so that's how Theresa wraps up. She says, I love you. He says, you make me feel special. And then in his interview, he's like, I think I might be falling in love with her. Next up, we are in Washington State, where we are with Faith. And when I first started watching this, I was like, all right. I was like, let's get this over with. But she completely changed my mind because you know why? I feel like she just showed a little bit more of her personality.
Mm-hmm.
And what my big pet peeve with Faith was throughout this whole show is that I felt like she wasn't showing her personality ever. And she was just she was like doing whatever she needed to do to get Gerry's attention rather than being like, if he picks me, great. If he doesn't, whatever, I'm going to go live my life. And this episode, she said, she was like, I'm going to ride my horses and be on my farm. And if he doesn't want to be a part of this, then like, that's that.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is, so you see from the premiere episode, she's very hobby oriented. Like she's a very active person. I think she was the youngest, if not one of the youngest participants on this season. She's like 12 years younger than Gerry is. And I think the issue was that she wasn't connecting the emotion with her hobbies and how much that meant to her throughout the season. She didn't get a lot of screen time. And when she did, it was her like sort of can come off complaining about how she was not getting the attention.
Yeah.
But she wasn't the type of person I felt that wanted to go out of her way to get its attention. She's not into the drama. And she likes, there's so many of her hobbies too are very independent. Like being like motorcycle rider, like a lot of the time you're going to be riding by yourself on a horse. You're mostly going to be by yourself. So I thought that not only that aspect to sort of support what you're saying, but when she turns to him, this was the part to me where I was like, I wonder if this is going to be a turnoff for him. And the way he reacts to it is very interesting to me, where she's like, you know, I need to be here for my sons. She's like, and I don't know if that's going to work if you're not okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, she's basically like, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, I'm staying right where I am. So I need to be within driving distance of my kids. So I don't know if that's going to work for you. And you see early on in the premiere that Gerry has 3 daughters.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly. I don't remember if they're all based in the same area or they all still live with them. But I thought immediately of that because I'm like, how long has he been away from his kids this whole time? And I don't know if he would be in a situation where he might upend his life for someone.
Yeah.
You know?
Which I will say is not really talked about often on these shows, which I think that's also what I liked about her. Was they're actually talking about realistic plans. There's so many times on these shows that people like fall in love when they're on the show, but they live like somebody lives in California and somebody lives in New York. And it's like, okay, but at that, when the show ends, what the hell are you guys going to do? Like, are you going to do long distance or like, is somebody going to move? So I liked that she's talking about logistics because it makes it seem like she actually sees a future with him and she isn't just trying to be on the show.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You have a quote in here in your notes.
Oh my.
Riding horseback and a good talk with a pretty lady. How do you not feel good?
Gary, like what are we doing, Gary?
Very corny, Gary. Come on, man.
A good talk with a pretty lady?
Come on.
What?
You
Dude,
love this woman?
You, like good talk. No, you are talking facts. You're trying to figure out, are you living at her house or is she going to live at yours? And she's clearly not going to live at yours.
No,
so.
It doesn't seem that she's into that.
No.
So then the people that Gerry gets to meet are her 2 sons, her grandkids, and her sisters.
Yes.
I actually thought one of her sisters looked like one of the competitors. I don't remember who it was.
Really?
I think maybe her
I didn't
older
catch
sister,
that.
I thought sort of had a similar vibe to Leslie, which I thought was interesting.
That's interesting.
It would be
That's
interesting.
funny.
Yeah, you see that her sister specifically points out the fact that he says the same thing. He goes, I like the way she looks at me. But there is a difference, I feel, in terms of the way they look at each other. And that might seem a little more authentic in terms of Faith versus Theresa.
Yeah.
And the sister's like, hey, you better take that on the chin because like that doesn't happen very often. Like I'm telling you that's a very special look that she doesn't give out very often to anybody. So you start to see the sparks fly a little bit there. And then, yeah, her sons ask him if he's in love when they pull him aside.
Yeah.
He goes, I kind of think I am. And that's the first time we get the confirmation of the love thing. Were you surprised by that? Or
that he said that to the sons?
Well, just in terms of Faith, because again, you're someone who hasn't been on the side of Faith for a lot of the season. Do you think that's authentic? Do you?
I think that because they were, I think that the conversations of them like talking about plans and like just the different vibe that they were having on this led me to think that it's more real. If he had said it at Theresa's, like I would have been like, this guy's fake.
Yeah.
Kind of like he did in the interview, but I bought it. I think that he is unsure a little bit, but he is leaning towards Faith.
Yeah. And so just a reminder for everybody, he's had the most solo date. The 3 people he had the most solo dates with
Are these 3?
are Leslie, Faith, and Ellen.
Oh,
I think he only had one with Theresa.
Yeah.
And he had 2 with everybody else since the beginning. So that's another reason why, to me, it's like Theresa's the one that's lagging behind. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I think she's done.
I think there's no way she wins.
But we'll see. We'll see, everyone. Were you surprised though? Because so then her sister ends up having like a conversation with Gerry where she asks if like her sister's heart is safe, and Gerry I think gave a good answer. He's like, Faith brings peace to me, and so I would love to like spend my life trying to bring peace to her, which is different than his typical like, I love how she looks at me.
Yes,
like, thank God he said something different. Otherwise, I would have turned off the TV. And then all of a sudden, it's like they're all sitting around in a circle together. And the next thing we know, it's like Gerry saying to Faith, like, I'll say it if you say it. And then they say they love each other to each other in front of everyone.
It's like it's like them leaning into their teenage.
It is,
which I
right?
thought was adorable. Yeah, I thought after that, regardless of what happened with Leslie, I had thought
Faith was
I was
it.
like, Faith is it.
Yeah, like Faith's locked
That's
in.
a lot. That's
a lot. Especially, I thought it was a lot in front of her whole family saying it too. And he said it before she did.
Yeah.
So I was like, ooh, okay, Gerry's feeling himself.
But
He's
then we transport to Minneapolis,
Yes.
Minnesota, the former girlfriend of Prince himself, Leslie.
I forgot about that.
So we get to meet her brother, her kids, and her grandkids. The story about the impact that her brother sort of has on her was really emotional, tragic story, but really important that he was there.
Yeah.
And I thought that that was great that she included him in that. And it's obvious that he has a big influence on her, and it was important for Gerry to meet her brother. But they have, we've been seeing throughout the weeks that they have great chemistry. They have these, even like these little moments of like sort of a romantic sexual thing between the two of them. But there was something within this that I didn't feel that deeper connection with Faith, like that I did with Faith. What did you think overall of how the family meeting went with Leslie's family?
I thought it was a good meeting, but just like you said, I kept picking up that everyone kept saying like, oh, you guys have great chemistry. You guys have like great chemistry together. Like you look really good together. But it was never like, wow, like you guys look like you're falling in love with each other, which that's all that Faith's family was saying. They just kept saying like, the way he's looking at you, like it looks like you're letting your guard down. And all they just kept saying was like, you guys have great chemistry together. And it's like, okay, we get it. Gerry is going to whisper in her ear again. In her hearing.
Sweet nothings.
Sweet nothings. I was waiting for it, but this was the hometown meeting that they kept bringing up, like the concern of the other women of saying like her kids kept saying like, I'm like, how are you doing? Are you worried? Like, are you?
Oh yeah. When they ask her that, like he's dating other women, like he's got to go to these other hometowns. Like
how are you
doing with that? And she goes, you know me. How do you think?
Yeah.
I'm
She's
doing
like, I'm concerned. She's like, I'm worried.
Yeah.
Which Faith and Theresa both never really said that. They were just like fully locked in on Gerry, and they were like, listen, if I get my heart broken, I get my heart broken. But Leslie is like hung up on it. She's like, I'm jealous. This is a problem for me.
Which personally, that was not like a turn off, but I was just like, you know, like
signed up for this.
Exactly.
Like, what do you mean? And then also her brother then has a conversation with Gerry, and he says, he's like, this is really like awkward for me because I know that you're dating two other women while you're dating my sister. So I find this weird. But then a part of me was like, I find it weird that you're like trying to interview like a man that's like your age for your 60-year-old daughter.
I also thought it was weird. Sister. I thought it was weird, not cringy, but I thought it was weird when Gerry first meets her brother. Oh, well, that too.
That was weird.
He asks for permission, which is very strange. But when they first meet, he goes, I was very anxious to meet you. And I was like, dude, this guy is your age. Like, how are you?
Gerry could be older for all we know.
He could be. So, yeah, little awkward.
They were just trying to lean into that like father meeting, like potential suitor kind of vibe. And it was just, I don't think it landed. No. I think they should have gone a different route.
I agree.
But that's what they were going for. And then Gary's like, well, if I were to fall in love with her, like, would you give me your permission? And I was just like, are you really asking this man for the permission for his like sick? Also, Leslie's been married like what, 4 times already?
Twice, I think.
Twice. And so it's like, if she wants to marry you, she's gonna marry
I wonder
you.
If those other men asked for his permission.
I wonder.
I'm very curious.
Yeah, so then I have a note here that Gerry just keeps saying that he has a strong connection with her, but no words of love.
Yeah, so then Leslie tells him that she loves him, and he says it back.
Which I was shocked. I was like, what?
I wasn't.
You weren't shocked that he said
I wasn't.
It?
So I think he actually says I think he said to her he was falling in love with her like a couple weeks ago. So, but again, like Gerry, in the beginning of the episode, like you said off camera, he's like, I only want to say I love you to one more woman in my life.
And then he says it to 2. And then he says it off camera about the 3rd one. Like, what are we doing, Gerry? What are we doing?
I know. So then after seeing that, it's pretty obvious that we both had thought it's down to Faith and Leslie.
Yeah, I was like, Theresa's out.
Yeah, this is what starts to piss me the fuck off. So we get to the rose ceremony, okay? He picks Leslie right away. Fine. Then he picks up the last rose, and it should obviously, based on the way that everything went out, it should just obviously go to Faith. Like, there's no reason, if you were a viewer of this program, that you would think that Theresa's getting this fucking rose. And he picks the rose up, and he holds it. Then he puts the rose down, and he goes, I gotta go. And he storms out. And he's like, I'm going to throw up.
Yeah, I know.
And he walks outside and he's like leaning over. Poor Gerry. I get it. It's sad. I don't fucking buy it because nothing was indicated within this episode in Hometowns that Theresa would be anywhere near either Leslie or Faith. It should be Leslie and Faith, very obvious. And they leave us on a cliffhanger. And they talk about how on next week's episode, we will get the answer to the cliffhanger and the first ever Golden Bachelor tell all.
Yes.
So is this common? Does this happen usually? I thought it usually happens like after the show is over.
Yes. So I don't know. I feel like they also weren't very clear in the trailer because I think they were trying to just keep a lot of things secret because they can't really show a big trailer. Otherwise, you know who's going to be you know who it's going to be.
Yeah, obviously. Do they ever end on cliffhangers of not giving roses?
Yeah, but like usually earlier, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I have a theory though, after like thinking about this, is that they, and like this is my conspiracy theory brain with these shows going, is that the producers have already asked Gerry, who are you picking? Like at the end of this show. Yeah. Because at this point, he probably knows.
Would know.
He knows. Yeah. I think he might pick Leslie as like his final like person.
Yeah.
And they said like, okay, you got to get rid of Faith then on this episode because that's more dramatic than getting rid of Theresa.
See, I thought so much of that was already baked in the Ellen part. And they show Ellen in the trailer too.
I know.
And she's like, what did she say? Like, she said sparks are flying or something. She was like, he broke my heart.
So,
and I'm like, no.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I think Faith leaving on the next episode would be much more shocking than Theresa.
Yeah. I think this was also a ratings play though. Like the cliffhanger was a ratings ploy. Maybe the ratings were going down.
Maybe.
But at the same time, like if you are a consumer of television and you have a fucking brain, there's no reason to think that Theresa would be getting picked. So yeah, if your theory stands correct, then it's all bullshit.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I just think everything for reality TV is like slightly fake. So like they know already who he's gonna pick.
Yeah. Obviously, because they filmed this all for however long ago too. But
I think they're like, okay, so who are you gonna go with? Like, what are you gonna do? So that we can like kind of plan and like make things more dramatic. Because there's no way that Gerry just was like, I'm gonna storm off right now.
Yeah.
I'm like so emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think that it was a situation in which the producers were like, you have to get rid of Faith and he doesn't want to? Or you think he's amping this up for the cameras?
I think that they probably were. I mean, this is all speculation too. I mean, maybe he picks Faith. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
I don't know. But my speculation is there's a potential moment that Faith leaves because they asked him after Hometowns, who are you picking at the end of the show? Like, do you know already?
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm going to pick Leslie.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, pick Leslie first. And then we want you to get rid of Faith because that's like more dramatic.
Yeah. There's an interesting moment in the trailer when Justin is the host, right? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Justin.
When he's like interviewing them.
He goes, well, do you not know who you want to pick? And he goes, I know exactly what I want to do. I just don't want to do it. And I'm like, oh shit, dude. Like, what does that mean?
Well, okay. So the interesting thing is after Hometowns, then usually goes into overnight stays. So it's the first time that like they go on like the gorgeous, like they go to like an island usually or something, and they get to spend like a night together with no cameras. Ooh,
spicy.
And then what it is the final two will go in a spot and like be waiting.
Yes, I know that part.
And then they wait. And then he just goes and meets whoever he's finally picking.
And he never sees the other person. Until like the finale, right? Like
yes, until the finale. And because then a producer just walks up to them and is like, he didn't pick you.
Yeah, that's like fucking
which is crazy. And then they see them in the tell-all. So I don't know. Maybe.
Do we think that maybe next week? Because they would, if it was the finale, they would
have
like,
said
on the season finale. And they didn't say that. So I was like, what is he just eliminate fucking both next week? But that wouldn't make sense either then if they're not pitching it as the finale. Very interesting approach with how they're doing this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the next episode is going to be like.
I don't know either.
Maybe we won't record an episode if it's bad.
I think
although maybe there's going to be hot tea.
Well, I think that we should. I think
We got to watch first.
I think we got to watch first, but part of me is like, maybe we wait 2 weeks and we just do
like a full final.
Let's talk about the tell-all. Let's talk about how the cliffhanger ends up. You guys let us know what you want.
What do you want
we'll
from
oblige.
us people? Because I feel like, I don't know. It depends on how much drama goes down in the tell-all.
That's fair.
If they're all very respectful to each other.
I hope Kathy and Theresa fucking fist bump. I'm hoping for it.
That would be, yeah. Because imagine if Theresa does get kicked off and then Kathy's like, so you weren't the one. Like, you aren't the one that he's picking. Oh, God.
It's going to be crazy.
I love it. Well,
that's
it for us.
That's it for Golden Bachelor, guys. So next week will not be the finale. We don't know who was eliminated. We're left on a cliffhanger. Let us know what you guys thought about the episode. Let us know who is your pick, who you think that Gerry's going to wind up picking as his bride-to-be.
Who do you think it is?
I mean, I have all signs as of right now point to Leslie.
I'm going
But
Leslie.
after this episode, I wanted it and I thought it would be Faith. I'm not kidding.
I did too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
He has a connection with
He
Leslie.
does. I don't know. I guess that's what it is. Guys, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, Culture Wave Media Network. Like I said, comment your thoughts on what you guys think about not only The Golden Bachelor, but reality TV going forward. We might keep doing things like this.
Vanderpump Rules. New season is coming out in January, so
you guys got to let us know if you're going to be on the Vanderpump train. Be sure to follow us at Cinema Wave Media on Instagram, as well as on Facebook and TikTok, as well as at _Culture Wave Media on Instagram as well. Just signing off. I am Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Liz Seiko.
And we'll see you guys next time.